Chapter 2692. Emmanuel, if you're not sober, I'll give you a slap in return. Billy, since I know how things are going to develop, as a soldier of the Empire, I'll restrain myself. I don't need your supervision. So, Emmanuel, thank you for your kindness. Emmanuel, you're an old fox. Tang Guo was in a good mood as she watched them tease each other. Her mother in this life was the female lead. She had a headache. If the female lead was a bad person, it would be easier to deal with her. But Tang Qianqian wasn't bad. For her daughter, she could disregard her own safety and even sacrifice her life. But she had a love-struck brain. She was obsessed with Heating. Anyone in her position would feel aggrieved. Forget it. Let's see how things develop first. Anyway, she still had to deal with this scumbag, Heating. School bell, oh right, Billy, Emmanuel, about that woman. If you meet her, please stay away from her and don't hurt her. Billy and Emmanuel were very curious. Why? School bell, it's a pity. She's the mother of this body. Billy, Emmanuel, friends in the group, can it be like this? Ha ha ha. This is so interesting. After hearing this news, Emmanuel and Billy complained in their hearts. After knowing that meeting that woman would make their IQ drop, they expressed that they would stay away from her. According to the plot, the probability of that happening was very small. Now that they knew that woman was the school bell's mother, it was even more impossible for them to have anything to do with that woman. Ha! To be honest, they didn't even dare to think about being the school bell's father. How would they dare? This time, Tang Guo stayed in the group for a long time. After Tang Qingru left, half a day had passed. She didn't come back. Things must be serious. She was also an outstanding female warrior. She couldn't stay at home all the time. She often had missions to do. Basically, the original owner of the body lived alone at home. Everyone in the He family was very busy. She had level mental power, so of course, she was highly valued. For this kind of family, they would receive a lot of training from a young age. They would learn some lessons that ordinary people couldn't learn. They would even learn how to use some combat equipment in advance. After entering an excellent military school in the Alliance, his starting point was much higher than many others. What was even more likely was that such a genius had already piloted a mecha and gone out on missions with the elders of his family before enrolling in the school. He wasn't someone that the normal members of the interstellar galaxy could compare to. Before Tang Guo left the group, she added Billy Emmanuel on her personal terminal account as a friend. She told him that she would use this account to contact him in the future. It was more convenient in the galaxy. Billy also said that he would have a vacation after a while. When the time came, he would take advantage of his vacation and come over with Emmanuel to meet her. The xenogenic creatures didn't invade at any time either. There were usually armies stationed there. There was a certain frequency to their invasions. Once the humans got used to their frequency, they would know when to send more warships to eliminate them. After exiting the group, the people in the group were actually a little unsatisfied. They hadn't chatted like this in a long time. As for Emmanuel and Billy, they were both excited and eager. Chapter 2693. They didn't have much hope for Tang Qianqian, the woman who brought hope to the galaxy. Perhaps it was because Tang Guo's experience in the small world would always bring changes to the world. They subconsciously felt that if Tang Guo came, there would definitely be a solution to their galaxy crisis. Even they themselves didn't realize that they already had a kind of blind trust in Tang Guo. Tang Qingru didn't come back that day. Under the care of the smart robot butler, Tang Guo quickly got used to life in the galaxy. Not everyone in the galaxy ate things like nutrition pastes. Families with better backgrounds wouldn't choose to eat nutrition pastes every day, which only replenished the body's energy. This was also a kind of torture for the people in the galaxy. There were only a few situations where nutrition pastes were used. The soldiers who went to fight the mutant creatures would bring a lot of nutrition pastes to the warehouse of the battleship for convenience and to quickly replenish their energy. Even if the plants weren't destroyed, many vegetables and fruits were very expensive to the people in the galaxy. Some ordinary people would choose to eat nutrition pastes to save money and time. They might only have a good meal and enjoy delicious food when they received their salary. But those who had some conditions and money would mostly choose to eat in the most primitive way to replenish their energy. As for cooking and housework, they were all done by smart robots. Even some poor people would have a smart robot at home. However, this version of the robot might be older. When it was broken, it would be repaired. After all, ordinary people couldn't replace it when it was broken. It would be repaired until it couldn't be used anymore. Ordinary people in the galaxy hoped that there would be one or more members with spiritual power in their family. Once they appeared, their ordinary status would rise to a whole new level. After dinner, Tangguo washed up and went to lie down. She opened her personal terminal and wanted to understand the galaxy a little. Since she was here, there was one thing she wanted to solve. That was why the plants in the galaxy were slowly dying. According to Emmanuel, they were infected with a strange virus. But until now, they hadn't been able to figure out the composition of this strange virus. There was another good news. The death of the plant seemed to be slowing down. Even if it slowed down, the current situation in the galaxy wasn't optimistic. Once there were no more plants, it would be the end of the universe. She didn't care. After all, she would leave this place after she died of old age. But she had Emmanuel and Billy, her two friends, and she didn't want to lose them. There wasn't much information available on the internet. After all, it was impossible for these research reports to be made public at any time to avoid causing panic among the interstellar humans. Even though panic had already been created, it wasn't too chaotic yet. Little Tongzi, with your current ability, can you find the source of this polluting plant? I haven't tried it yet, but I can try to track it. He wanted to see if he could capture the virus that caused the plants to wither. All right. If it weren't for the fact that it's inconvenient for me to leave right now, I would really want to go to the place where all the plants are dead. I should be able to see something. Actually, dear host, you don't have to worry. Even if you can't solve it, you still have that cheap mother of yours. Chapter 2694. As long as she lived well, there wouldn't be any problems in the galaxy. Didn't the storyline mention that plants withered slower and slower? Your cheap mother could live for thousands of years. Yes, speaking of which, Emmanuel and Billy are from the galaxy. Their lifespans are only a few thousand years. They can't live forever like me. The system didn't know what to say. It knew very well that once the host cared about someone, she would be sad to lose even one of them. Because there were very few people who cared about the host and cared about the host. After traveling through so many worlds, the only people who cared about the host were that group. Tongzi, I didn't have time to look at the situation below the heavenly spring. Can you help me take a look and see if there's another light? The system hurriedly went to take a look and quickly came back. It said in shock, "Host, there's really another light. That path has advanced further." The system was excited. Could it be that the path really led to the outside world and left the small world? It's just as I thought. There's a light in each world. Tangguo buried her head and smiled. She held it with both hands. Previously, I only felt that the heavenly spring was getting brighter and brighter. Sometimes, I didn't even need to go in to lie down. I didn't even notice that there were lights below. I remember that the heavenly spring only had a little bit of light at the beginning. Yes. I've traveled through many worlds, but there were only about 30 lights that lit up. Do you know why? Host, although I've become smarter, I definitely don't know something that you don't know. He didn't even understand himself, so he was even more confused about the heavenly spring. I know. Tangua said with a smile in her eyes. Through these few worlds and the previous worlds, I understand how to light up those lights. The system was a little itchy. Host, stop keeping me in suspense. What's the reason? When I'm happy in a small world, I can light up a light. The system was shocked. Could it be like that? Then, the heavenly spring should be on the host's side. But why did the system want the host to complete the female supporting character's mission and live on in her place and continue her destiny? Could it be that he was broken midway? Or, was it really like what the silly System 222 said, that he was a half-finished product? Or was his research useless? That's not right. If he was really a useless researcher, how could he still level up? It was much more advanced than many of the systems he had encountered before. Not to mention 222, even 111 couldn't beat him. He had crushed all of them. The next day, Tang Qingru came back with a cold face. It could be seen from her expression that something serious must have happened. Tangua asked appropriately, Mom, did something serious happen? Yes. Tang Qingru replied indifferently. Actually, this was her personality. She was cold to everyone, but she was slightly better in front of He-Ting. But ever since she found out that she and He-Ting might have maintained this kind of familiar and unfamiliar relationship, even when facing He-Ting now, she still had a cold expression on her face, let alone when facing Tangua, who was not her biological daughter, but the daughter of her younger sister and the man she liked. Chapter 2695. Have you finished your lessons this morning? Yes, I've submitted my homework to your mailbox. Tang Qingru didn't ignore her, but she didn't communicate much with her. In this kind of family, especially with a cold-faced person, there wouldn't be much communication at all. She usually submitted one copy of her lessons to the teacher and the other to Tang Qingru. She was very talented, and Tang Qingru also valued this. Tangua was eating the fruit of the interstellar. It was fresh, but it didn't have enough water. It looked a little dry and didn't taste very sweet. But this kind of treatment was already very good in the interstellar. When a large number of plants died in the past, the interstellar took emergency measures to freeze some fresh fruits and vegetables. But now those frozen things were very precious and wouldn't be taken out easily. Tang Qingru answered and opened her mailbox to check Tangua's lessons. After reading it, although her face was still cold, one could still see some satisfaction in her eyes. You'll be 8 next year. At that time, I'll propose to the family to let you go to the training ground to practice operating mecha. Before that, you must master all the theoretical knowledge of mecha. I've sent all the information to you just now. Take some time to read it yourself. If there's anything you don't understand, send me an email. Okay, Mom. System, haha, the host is quite obedient as a little girl and calls her Mom. She's quite good at pretending. The host is a wily old fox. If you didn't know her true colors when she was acting as a little girl, you wouldn't be able to act out. But he knew the truth, so he just thought it was funny. Of course, he just laughed secretly. He was afraid that he would be beaten if he laughed out loud. Remember, if you don't pass the theoretical knowledge of mecha next year, you'll lose the opportunity to practice operating mecha. You'll have to wait for a year and then take another test to qualify. Understood. Tang Qingru's face was not good because she received news that Tang Qianshan had been taken away first. Even if they tracked a little bit of her whereabouts, they couldn't take her back. Because Tang Qianshan's location was no longer in the territory of the Yuhao Alliance Empire. She had been taken away by the people of the Luoluo Alliance Empire. As for the identity of the other party, they didn't know yet. She wasn't interested in talking about this with a 7-year-old girl. After telling Tanguy to read the information carefully, she went to the study. Tanguy skimmed through the theoretical knowledge on interstellar mecha. She was a little surprised when she saw the amount of information stored in the database. The life of a child in the interstellar galaxy is so tiring. You're only 7 years old this year and you've already seen so much. And it's only been a year. Hearing Tangua's complaints, the system almost couldn't hold back its laughter. The genes of interstellar humans were close to perfection, and the host had mental energy of a certain level. The brains of interstellar humans had been developed to a certain extent. Therefore, you would be able to remember all this information after reading it once. Next year, Great Host still has to practice using mechas. No matter what world they were in, children with good family backgrounds would always have a higher starting point than most children. Their innate conditions determined their lives, and they were destined to be extraordinary. Tanguy didn't say anything. She just looked at the information silently. She was not worried about Tang Qianqian. Chapter 2696. As for He-Ting, he should be back soon to bring her to the laboratory for a blood test. When he found out that there was no special power in her blood, he would let the people in the laboratory do all kinds of experiments on her mental strength. It could be said that this was the beginning of the destruction of the original owner. It was her biological father who had single-handedly caused it. She still didn't want to change this process. However, since they had hurt her, she had to repay them by giving them some gifts. The next day, Tang Qingru went out early in the morning again. After Tanguy finished her course and submitted it, she locked herself in the room. Great Host, are you looking for these herbs to study how to make the interstellar plants grow? It seems like a good idea to be a savior. No. Savior. I'm not interested. Tanguy, who was seriously preparing the medicine, had a serious expression on her face. She didn't even raise her head as she replied, "We haven't found the source of the virus, so we can't make a medicine that can make the plants grow." The system felt that it was true. If it was really that easy, with the advanced economy and technology, and with Emmanuel's hidden talent as a pharmacist, he would have been able to make such a medicine a long time ago. However, they couldn't find the source of the virus. Even if they could make some, when the virus invaded, the plants couldn't grow at all. Then why was Great Host fiddling with these medicines? If he didn't understand, he had to ask. This way, the system could continue to improve. I'm making some gifts for them. Gifts? For some reason, the system shuddered. It didn't think that it was anything good. For about a week, after Tanguy finished her course, she would lock herself in the room to study the medicine. Seeing that the day of He-Ting's return was approaching, the system finally saw a smile on Tanguy's face. Then, it watched in horror as its perverted Great Host injected the medicine directly into her arm. The system didn't feel good. Great Host, medicine can't be taken carelessly, and medicine can't be injected carelessly. If you want to do experiments, just get 2 white mice. Don't worry, I've injected myself with the antibodies. This medicine can't threaten my body. It's not the first time I've studied this kind of thing. I know my limits. Her nonchalant attitude made the system tremble even more. It felt that the person who bullied the host next would be unlucky. To solve the blood problem, Tanguy injected herself with a very special virus. Whoever dared to take her blood for experiments would have to bear the consequences of taking her blood. As for experiments on spiritual power, she was even less afraid. The original owner's spiritual power was ranked, but hers wasn't. She was stronger. At that time, whoever dared to experiment on her would suffer the most severe backlash. When He-Ting came back, he saw the 7-year-old girl sitting on the sofa, eating her food in small bites. She was very obedient. With his excellent genes, this little girl was naturally perfect in terms of talent and appearance. In a trance, he seemed to see a strange smile on the little girl's face. However, when he took a closer look, she raised her head and smiled sweetly at him. She even called him Daddy. He was an apathetic person. Even if this was his daughter, he didn't feel much. However, because of her talent, he remembered this little girl. He also knew that this little girl wasn't his and Tang Qingru's child, but his and Tang Qianqian's child. Chapter 2697. He Ting had never planned to fuss over the time when he was set up by the Tang family. This result was undoubtedly the most beneficial to the two families. But he really didn't expect that Tang Qianqian, an ordinary woman with a useless D-grade mental power, would have a special talent. She could make plants grow again. Moreover, the plants she planted were not afraid of the virus that killed plants. They were not affected at all on the remote and backward Phoenix Tail planet and grew so luxuriantly. No one would be able to remain calm after hearing this news. No matter what the reason was, they had to find Tang Qianqian and bring her back. However, there seemed to be something wrong with Tang Qianqian's brain. She didn't even know how to hide such a serious matter and exposed herself to everyone. They were too late and Tang Qianqian was taken away. According to the latest news, the people who took Tang Qianqian away were from the Luoluo Alliance. Therefore, it was impossible for the two allied empires to start a war at this moment. Xiaogua, have you finished your lessons for today? Like Tang Qingru, He Ting was actually not good with words. Especially when it came to this daughter whom he didn't have much time to interact with. He was even more stiff than Tang Qingru. I've finished it, father. He Ting nodded gently and said, why don't I take you out for a walk? Is there any place you want to go, or anything you want? No. Tang Guo rolled her eyes in her heart. She really didn't care about a father like He Ting. How could a man who couldn't communicate with and didn't like his child be a father? Then let's go out for a walk. He Ting's motive for coming back was naturally because he couldn't bring Tang Qianqian back. After some consideration, he felt that he could find the answer from his daughter who had Tang Qianqian's blood. No matter what, this concerned the survival of the galaxy. He had to try. Of course, he had to hide this from everyone. If others knew that Tang Guo was Tang Qianqian's daughter, there would be a lot of disputes. As for the fact that his daughter was only 7 years old and had to undergo experiments, He Ting had also considered whether this was a little unreasonable. However, for the survival of the entire galaxy, even if it was his daughter, even if there was only a certain chance, he still had to try. If he wanted to find Tang Qianqian, he would undoubtedly have to pay a huge price and spend a lot of time. He might not even succeed. He Ting's words were actually in order, and no one could refute him. If it was the original owner of the body, He Ting would definitely be very happy to take her out to play. Although Tang Guo was unhappy in her heart, she still pretended to look forward to it. This made He Ting a little satisfied, and he quickly brought her out. Your mother has already sent you the mecha theory data. Hearing this, He Ting was a little surprised. After all, Tang Guo was only 7 years old. Then how much did you understand? I can understand it. I've already read more than half of it. Hearing Tang Guo's words, He Ting was a little surprised. She had read more than half of it. How fast was this speed? At first, he didn't believe it. Later, he casually tested Tang Guo and found that she could understand it and had a good grasp of it. Vertex. Chapter 2698. There was a complicated look in his eyes. There was no doubt that his daughter was very talented. It should be said that among her peers, there were not many who could compare to her talent. However, he was about to do something. No matter how talented she was, she had to accept the experiment. There would be many talented children in the future. As for the experiment, it was urgent. He had to get someone to confirm if Tanghua had the talent that Tang Qianqian had. For a few days, He-Ting brought Tanghua out. He would bring her to see some different places and buy her some strange things that she didn't like at all. She also showed him her talent and the anticipation that a little girl had for her father. However, He-Ting did not hesitate at all. He accompanied her for a few days as if he was completing a mission and did not let himself feel so guilty. This made her feel a little ridiculous. Apart from dealing with it on the surface, she did not put in any effort to do anything else. Since this was He-Ting's choice, she would fulfill it. Recently, Tang Qingru was around and He-Ting did not find a chance to bring Tanghua to the secret laboratory. However, Tang Qingru soon had a new mission. He-Ting finally had a chance to bring Tanghua to the secret laboratory. That laboratory was filled with people he trusted. The reason for bringing Tanghua there was very simple. He wanted to bring her to another place to play today. Tanghua could tell, but she pretended not to know. Also, when she entered the secret laboratory, she realized that the signal of her personal terminal was blocked. However, with the system, it quickly connected her to the signal. Dear host, am I getting more and more powerful now? Being able to help Tanghua was the system's happiest thing. Tanghua praised, very powerful. After being praised, if the system had a tail, it would be very cocky. Father, where is this place? Tanghua looked at the people around her who were wearing white clothes, masks and hats. She showed a puzzled expression like a child. In fact, she really wanted to save Mama in her heart. Xiaogua, this is a secret laboratory. He-Ting did not lie. I brought you here today to ask you for a favor. Yes, in the beginning, He-Ting only wanted the original host to agree to let these people study her blood. She had to stay here while the blood was being studied. What they needed to do every day was to provide blood for the laboratory. She was right here, alive. Of course, these people didn't care about wasting blood. If they ran out of blood, they would take it from her body. Actually, under such circumstances, it wouldn't hurt her too much. Only when everyone in the laboratory was certain that there was nothing of value in her blood would they suggest the research on mental power to He-Ting. Even though He-Ting had thought about it for a while, he knew that SS spiritual power was rare. Once she started researching spiritual power, it would cause great harm to her. There was a possibility that she would become a cripple after the experiment, but he still agreed. Because she was He-Ting's daughter and had such great talent, the researchers who conducted the experiments were actually very well informed when they conducted the experiments. However, after each experiment, she still suffered a certain degree of damage. Until she was snatched away. She landed in another laboratory. This time, the researchers were not as polite to her. When it was time to draw blood, he would draw blood without caring about her physical condition. Vertex. Chapter 2699. When it was time to conduct a mental strength experiment, he didn't hesitate at all. In that experiment, the original owner was seriously injured. Thinking of those memories, a cold look flashed across Tanghua's eyes. Of course, the people in the laboratory didn't notice anything unusual about this 7-year-old girl. After getting He-Ting's consent, they drew a large tube of her blood. Tanghua looked at them carefully holding a test tube of blood, and a smile appeared on the corner of her lips. Of course, in the eyes of others, this smile was just the little girl's happiness at being able to help her father. They didn't know that there was a very scary substance in the blood in the test tube. This was Tanghua's gift to them, and also her revenge. Who asked them to draw her blood? Can't I go home? Tanghua asked even though she knew the answer. He-Ting nodded stiffly. I can't go back for now. Then I still have classes every day. If I can't finish them, my performance marks will be deducted at the end of the semester and I won't be able to get full marks. There was no signal on her personal terminal here, so she couldn't receive the classes assigned by the teachers and couldn't submit homework. Dad will settle this. The teachers will make an exception. After all, what Xiaogua is doing now is very important. Ting wasn't speaking without thinking. That day, he asked someone to help Tanguo apply for leave. As for her classes, they would make up for it after she left. The school would still give some face to the He family and wouldn't make things difficult for her. On the first day, those people only drew a large test tube of her blood. On the second day, they drew 2 test tubes. From the 5th day onwards, they had to draw 3 test tubes every day. Tanguo's originally rosy face started to turn pale. The system looked a little uncomfortable. It drew circles and cursed Ting every day. But it knew that it couldn't stop the host. She had a kind of madness in her bones. Only a gentle person and a gentle world could calm the madness and brutality in her bones. Now that Ting asked these people to draw her blood for experiments, she already hated it. She would do as they wished. In fact, he really wanted to know what kind of virus was in the blood that could make his host so happy like a real child every time she talked about gifts. After drawing her blood for 10 days, Tanguo's face was very pale and she had lost a lot of weight. Host, when you go out, you have to nourish yourself well. You are still a child now and you are still growing. If this goes on for a long time, you won't be nutritious. The system felt that it was really worried sick because of a troublesome fellow like Ting. While the people in the laboratory were studying Tanguo's blood, they would also regularly sprinkle Tanguo's blood on some potted plants. Of course, these potted plants were brought out of the laboratory and placed in different environments. For now, they didn't find anything useful. Tanguo's Tangua to meet Tanguo's Tang's eyes to meet Tanguo Tang. Tanguo also remembered that because they were too excited this time, they forgot to ask about the main plot of this world. She also forgot to tell them. It might not be convenient for me now. I have been sent to a secret laboratory by the biological father of this body. Billy, school beauty, what's the matter? Do you need our help now? Peek. Chapter 2700. Emmanuel was a bit anxious. When did this happen? As expected, you're still a child and very weak. If I had known earlier, I would have been the one to protect you. So, how can we help you, school beauty? Billy asked again. It's not hard for me to escape, but I don't want to right now. He placed me in this laboratory because my mother was secretly taken away by your Luo alliance. The chances of bringing her back are very small and it will take time. So, he set his sights on me. In just a short sentence, the two understood Tanguo's current situation. Soon, they remembered that Tanguo knew about the development of this world's storyline and beat them at their own game. She probably wanted to take revenge on those who had hurt the original owner. Emmanuel asked again, you really don't need our help, do you? We're all worried about you. Are you sure you can escape when your life is in danger in this laboratory? Although the school beauty was very strong, she was still a 7-year-old girl. In the galaxy, even if she escaped, she would be easily found unless she went to a remote place. Don't worry, you don't have to come over for now. According to the storyline, I should be taken away by the Luo alliance. At that time, we'll meet again. Let's wait for a while. She still had to fall into those people's hands. After all, those people had hurt the original owner. She had to deal with them one by one. She searched through her memories and confirmed that Billy and Emmanuel didn't seem to have anything to do with the original owner. Her expression relaxed a bit. If these two fellows were really here, she would be able to deal with them. At this moment, Emmanuel and Billy both felt an inexplicable chill. Billy and Emmanuel were still worried. They discussed this in the group, but they couldn't think of any good ideas. After interacting for so long, they knew Tangua's personality. Once she decided on something, no one could change it. In the end, they agreed that they should send people to investigate first. Even if they didn't interfere with Tangua's matters, they should still make preparations in secret. If something unexpected happened, they would be able to come out and help her immediately. For this reason, Ziyun and the other two even gave Billy and Emmanuel a lot of celestial vegetables and fruits, although the two of them refused. They all felt very lucky that the school belle could come here. They were willing to help her. There was no need to do this. However, Ziyun and the other two said that these were all for emergency use. When the time came for their sister to live here, they would definitely use the best things and could not be neglected. They were in different small worlds, so they couldn't search for her and take care of her. This was the only way. Tanguo listened to the system explain to her what had happened in the group while her blood was being drawn. The system could feel that its energy, which had stagnated due to recent events, was beginning to increase again. Sure enough, it was a great thing that the host was happy. If that was the case, did the lights below the heavenly spring really have something to do with whether the host was happy or not? That was great. The person who researched him must have been a fool. That was why he was so stupid at the start. Tang Qingru came back and found that Tanguo wasn't at home. She checked the records and found out that He Ting had taken Tanguo out. Combined with what had happened recently, she felt that something was wrong. This was the first time she took the initiative to look for He Ting. Where's Xiaoguo? Peek. Chapter 2701. Xiaoguo isn't staying at home for the time being. Then where did you take her? I want to see her now. Immediately. Tang Qingru had always been a cold person. Now that she was angry, she exuded a cold aura. There's nothing I can do about that, He Ting replied. He didn't tell Tang Qingru that he had sent Tanguo to the secret laboratory. Tang Qingru's eyes gradually turned cold. She looked directly at He Ting. She's your daughter. She's only 7 years old this year, He Ting. I know. You know. At this moment, Tang Qingru understood the reason. He Ting had taken Tanguo away at this time and didn't let her see her. She had already heard that He Ting had specially applied for a year's leave from the school. The reason for the leave wasn't written. But this wasn't a problem. With the He family's ability, the school wouldn't ask anything if they applied for leave. But this matter was serious. What exactly was the matter that required him to apply for a year's leave for Xiaoguo? There was only one possibility. He Ting knew that Xiaoguo was Tang Qianqian's daughter. Tang Qianqian couldn't be found now. Because of that alluring special ability, he had made a move on that 7-year-old girl. Tang Qingru's expression turned colder. You knew from the start. Yes. He Ting didn't deny it. Even if Tang Qingru objected, it was useless now. He wouldn't tell her where the secret laboratory was. Even if she knew where it was, would she dare to blow up the laboratory with a mecha and snatch her? As a soldier of the Cosmic Alliance Empire, he would be punished for blowing up the laboratory with a mecha without permission. He Ting, where is Xiaoguo? She's very talented. In the future, she will definitely become the most outstanding soldier of the Empire. She shouldn't have encountered such a thing. Tang Qianqian's talent came out of nowhere. I don't think there's a second person with such a rare and strange talent. You're doing useless work. Not only are you doing useless work, you're also destroying a very talented child. In the future, This child should be an existence that protects the empire. She shouldn't become your experimental subject. Heating's expression didn't change at all. There will be many outstanding children in the empire. Regardless of whether it's grade or grade, there will be more in the future. But I only found Tang Qianqian's talent, and Tang Qianqian only has one daughter now, so it's very likely that she carries her strange genes. No matter how small the chances are, this concerns the survival of the universe. I have to make this choice. Actually, you're not sure, are you? You can't bring Tang Qianqian back, so you chose to sacrifice a 7-year-old girl. At this moment, Heating's heroic image in Tang Qingru's eyes instantly collapsed. Over the past 7 years, the little bit of affection she had for him had gradually faded away, but now, there was nothing left. You should leave. No one can stop this. Alright, I'm leaving. Tang Qingru understood that she couldn't get Tang Guo back no matter what she said. Now, she could only think of another way. It would be best if she could secretly follow Heating and find an opportunity to take Tang Guo away. 1 year later, no matter what the outcome is, I'll let Xiao Guo return to her normal life. Hearing Heating's voice, Tang Qingru turned around. Are you sure that Xiao Guo will still be Xiao Guo a year later and won't be hurt at all? Heating, you're hurting your own daughter. Chapter 2702. Qingru, you have to keep this a secret. You can't let anyone know. Otherwise, Xiao Guo will be in danger. A smile appeared on Tang Qingru's cold face. It was a mocking smile. You are her greatest danger. Tang Qingru secretly followed Heating for a few days and finally found the location of the laboratory. However, the laboratory was very secure. She couldn't enter. She couldn't fight with Heating either. Otherwise, once the matter was exposed, it would bring great danger to Tang Guo. Ask the family for help. She had never thought of this. Once the family knew, they would probably plan to put Tang Guo in another laboratory. Currently, the family didn't seem to have realized this. After all, who would think of this? But at this time, the news that Tang Guo was Tang Qianqian's daughter had already been found out by one of the candidates for the successor of the empire. Lu Xiaoyang, the youngest son of the president of the Great Universal Alliance Empire. He was very talented and was also very ambitious. From the beginning, he had his eyes on Heating. Therefore, he planted someone beside Heating. He had never used this person before. Although he wasn't Heating's most trusted person, it was easy for this person to find out some secrets. Heating did this matter with Tang Guo very secretly. But no matter how secretive it was, the people around him would inevitably find out. You said that the little girl called Tang Guo is Heating and Tang Qianqian's daughter. Yes, that's right. Although Heating has been very mysterious recently and doesn't bring anyone with him when he goes out. But that day, when I was sorting out the information, I accidentally found 2 paternity tests about genes. It clearly shows that Tang Qianqian and Tang Guo are mother and daughter. The other one is between Tang Qingru and Tang Guo. It's obvious that they aren't mother and daughter. Judging from the date, this paternity test was done 7 years ago. Lu Xiaoyang immediately laughed out loud. Very good. What a good Heating. He has a good daughter. No matter what, he had to get his hands on that little girl. When the laboratory decided to conduct a mental strength experiment on Tang Guo, Lu Xiaoyang had already brought his men to surround the laboratory. Dad, I have a headache. It's so uncomfortable. My brain feels like it's going to explode. I don't want to stay here anymore. Take me home. I haven't seen my mother for a long time. I miss her. Heating stood outside and ignored Tang Guo's painful words. Tang Guo suddenly said, Dad, you're lying to me, right? Ting still didn't say anything. The experiment had to continue. It didn't matter even if his daughter hated him in the future. The corners of Tang's lips curled up. When those mind powers probed in, he instantly used his powerful mind powers to swallow their mind powers. The researcher who had been probing her spiritual power suddenly felt that something was wrong. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The experiments were conducted in a specialized laboratory. The door could only be opened from the inside. Even if Ting felt that something was wrong, there was nothing he could do. Recently, Tang Qingru had been with him. In order to reduce trouble, he rarely came over. Today, he had to come and take a look because of the spiritual power experiment. "Dear host, what are you doing?" the system asked in shock. "Those people look like they were in pain." "Of course I'm swallowing their mind powers. Their mind powers have been scanning my brain and making me very uncomfortable. I can only swallow them. System, I'm scared." Chapter 2703. The person with the weakest mental strength was the first to faint on the ground. Ting couldn't sit still anymore as he watched the researchers in the laboratory fall one by one. He was about to do something when the door was suddenly pushed open. Lu Xiaoyang smiled as he brought his men in. "Major General He, leave this to me. You've made a contribution. You can leave now." At this moment, Tang Guo stopped absorbing the mental strength. She pretended to be hit by the impact and fainted. Her face even paled a little. She had no choice. She didn't look very well because of the blood draw. But she had absorbed a lot of mental strength just now and had nourished herself greatly. Her face was a little rosy. Because she was lying down and there were researchers around her, the door and walls of the laboratory had the ability to block mental strength to prevent people from interfering with the experiment. Therefore, Ting didn't notice anything unusual about her at all. He only thought that there was something wrong with the researchers. Even these researchers didn't know that Tang Guo had absorbed their mental strength. Now, Tang Guo was the first to faint. Her face was still pale. The researchers who hadn't fainted saw that Tang Guo was also unconscious. Her situation was worse than theirs, so they didn't suspect anything. They hurriedly opened the door of the laboratory and Lu Xiaoyang walked in with his men. "You've worked hard. Leave the rest to me." In the face of Lu Xiaoyang's appearance, these researchers had no right to refute. This was the president's youngest son. It seemed that this little girl was going to be taken away. Lu Xiaoyang had a smile on his face. He gave the people around him a look and asked them to carry Tang Guo. At this moment, a figure suddenly barged into the laboratory and hugged Tang Guo. Everyone looked carefully and realized that this person was actually Tang Qingru. Ting was also a little surprised. He didn't expect Tang Qingru to actually want to take Tang Guo away at this time. "Mrs. He, what are you doing?" Lu Xiaoyang's smile didn't change. "You should know that this concerns the survival of the entire galaxy. So, you should put her down and let my men take her away." "No. She's my daughter." Tang Qingru didn't hesitate, and there was no fear in her eyes. There was only determination on her cold face. "Also, don't call me Madam He. Please call me Colonel Tang." "Alright, Colonel Tang, you should know that she's not your daughter. This matter actually has nothing to do with you. If I say so, then so be it. If I don't allow you to take it away, then don't take it away." Tang Qingru diverted some of her attention to observe Tang Guo in her arms. She found that her little face was pale and her eyebrows were slightly knitted. It seemed that her spiritual power had been damaged. If he fell into Lu Xiaoyang's hands, he would probably continue to be experimented on. At that time, he would be crippled. At least, in terms of blood relationship, you're not mother and daughter. You should be very clear about that, right? Lu Xiaoyang wasn't angry. In his opinion, Tang Qingru was dreaming if she wanted to take Tang Wu away. This has nothing to do with you. Facing Tang Qingru, who couldn't communicate with him, Lu Xiaoyang stopped smiling. Major General Tang, you should know that you can't leave with this little. Oh, no, you can't leave with your daughter. She's in my arms now. It's even more impossible for you to use her for experiments. Then let's wait for a few thousand years. Let's see who can wait longer. Chapter 2704. Lu Xiaoyang had never thought that this was a difficult woman to deal with. Now, he felt that this was the most difficult woman to deal with in the galaxy. If it was anything else, he could use military orders to restrain her. However, he couldn't use military orders for this matter. This woman didn't seem to want to give in. Even military orders wouldn't work. Women and men, Tang Qingru and He Ting, were still a little different. Women always paid attention to relationships. As the old saying went, women were soft-hearted and had women's views. Only women would be soft-hearted. No wonder the previous rulers were more men. Tang Qingru had level 1 spiritual power and was very familiar with the use of spiritual power. Now that Tang Guo was in the other party's hands, it would be difficult to do anything drastic. Especially now, he couldn't let others know that Tang Guo was Tang Qianqian's daughter. If this matter was exposed, it would be very disadvantageous to him. After all, he wasn't the only candidate for the heir of the Universal Alliance Empire. There were many others. If Tang Guo's existence was known by others, she wouldn't fall into his hands. Then, the results of the research would be too disadvantageous for him in terms of merits or his own interests. Therefore, Tang Qingru wasn't afraid of blowing things up, but he was. Colonel Tang, tell me, what do you want? Tang Qingru looked up and said seriously, I want to bring my daughter home. She's talented and has delayed her classes for a long time. This isn't good for her future. As a mother, my duty is to make sure that she grows up well while being healthy. But Colonel Tang, as a mother, you're also a soldier of the Universal Alliance Empire. Your duty is to protect the peace of the Empire. I protect the peace of the Empire because the Empire can protect us. Once the Empire I protect bullies us, there's no need to continue protecting it. Colonel Tang, do you know what you're saying? Tang Qingru's expression didn't change. I know. I'm saying what's on my mind. All of Lu Xiaoyang's tolerance was broken today. This woman was really too difficult to deal with. I can promise you that I won't hurt her. This was his biggest concession. He tried his best to keep this little girl from getting hurt while experimenting. Tang Qingru's gaze instinctively landed on He Ting's face. Her cold voice was filled with sarcasm. Even her father doesn't dare to make such a promise. What right do you have to make such a promise? Lu Xiaoyang was speechless. Actually, giving her to me is the best choice. If my brothers find out, her situation will be even worse. Colonel Tang, you should understand. I only know that you are all people who want to hurt my daughter, including Major General He. He Ting, who was called out again, said, perhaps it's best to hand it over to 7th young master. After saying that, he received Tang Qingru's gaze that seemed to want to eat him up. This made him a little uncomfortable. Even if this woman was very cold, the way she looked at him in the past was definitely not like this. It was like a sharp knife, making him feel cold. Major General He, as her father, do you have the right to speak? Host, why don't you just acknowledge her as your biological mother? She's a proper biological mother. She's handsome and cares about you. Her personality is a little cold, but I think she's treating you well, not just because of your talent. Just in terms of talent alone, there were many talented children in the empire, and there were even some who were at the top. Chapter 2705. The two sides were in a stalemate in the laboratory. No matter what Lu Xiaoyang said, Tang Qingru didn't give in at all. Tang Guo was being hugged by her, so Lu Xiaoyang didn't dare to really do anything. If things got out of hand, it would be disadvantageous to him. He also realized that Tang Qingru must know his situation, which was why she was so fearless. This made him angry and helpless. Major General He, please persuade her. You should know that handing your daughter to me is the best choice. If I can find out about this, others will soon find out too. By then, they won't be as easy to talk to as I am. Since he couldn't persuade Tang Qingru, Lu Xiaoyang turned his attention to He Ting. He Ting shook his head this time. I'm sorry, seventh young master. I can't persuade her. Isn't she your wife? Aren't you husband and wife? Why can't you persuade her? Can't you just coax her? He Ting didn't have any status in the family if he couldn't even handle a woman. He Ting opened his mouth and looked at Tang Qingru, who was vigilantly protecting Tang Guo. He didn't know what to say. Although they had been married for 7 years and were husband and wife in name, they didn't have any feelings for each other, let alone be intimate. He used to be very satisfied with Tang Qingru's tactfulness. She never caused trouble for him. Now, he had a headache. If they had a better relationship in the past, things might not be like this. Tang Qingru saw He Ting's behavior. There was no other expression on her cold face. She looked down at Tang Guo. Seeing that her face wasn't as pale as before, she heaved a sigh of relief. Tang Guo opened her eyes at the right time. She looked at Tang Qingru and said, "Mom, are you here to take me home?" "Yes." Tang Qingru's voice was still cold and even a little stiff. "Xiao Guo, if you're tired, sleep for a while. I'll take you home." Host, see. Acknowledge your biological mother. It wasn't easy to meet such a mother. Tang Guo. When did her Tongzi become like this? Tang Guo was like a real child. She grabbed Tang Qingru's clothes tightly. "Mom, I don't want to stay in the laboratory. They took a lot of my blood every day. Previously, they even scanned my spiritual power. I felt like my brain was going to explode. I told Dad that I was in pain and wanted to go home, but Dad didn't answer me." Tang Qingru couldn't help but raise her head and look at He Ting, who was standing outside. She touched Tang Guo's head and said, "Don't go out with your father in the future. Although you're still young, there are some things I have to tell you. Your father might not love you as much as you think." Although it was very cruel, if she told the little girl that her father loved her. Then, in the future, He Ting might use his father's identity to hurt her. Rather than this, it would be better to break up the relationship between the father and daughter. At least, she would not be hurt because of the father's love. She knew that He Ting was a cold person, so she didn't have any hope that he would have fatherly love for her. "Mom. You just need to remember that you can't trust your father easily. If you go out in the future and he wants to see you, don't go out alone. Either you tell me, or you take 2 men with you." Tang Qingru's words were a slap to He Ting's face. He asked someone to take your blood because he wanted to analyze a special substance from it. Chapter 2706. He promised the people in the laboratory to experiment on your spiritual power. That was because they couldn't analyze the substance they needed in your blood, so they attacked your spiritual power. Tang Qingru completely ignored He Ting's objection and told Tang Guo the truth. "If you continue the experiment, it will have a great impact on your spiritual power. In serious cases, you might even be crippled. Seeing the little girl's incredulous expression, Tang Qingru lowered her eyes and stopped talking. Soon, she continued, I really want you to have a father who loves you, but Xiaogua, unfortunately, your father doesn't care about you. So, I will do my best to protect you as you grow up. Tang Qingru tightened her grip on Tanggua, but she might not be able to protect her. Just as Lu Xiaoyang had said, once more people found out about this. There were many people who wanted to snatch Xiaogua, but Tang Qingru couldn't protect her. She, Tang Qingru, had gone on countless missions and killed countless mutant creatures that had invaded the human race. Even when his life was in danger, he was on the brink of death, he had never felt so helpless. I have a suggestion. Lu Xiaoyang suddenly said, actually, I want your daughter because of that special ability. However, the probability of your daughter carrying that ability is very small. We all know that. It's just that we can't bring Tang Qianqian back now, so we have no choice but to attack her. Actually, you all know that anyone who knows about this will choose to do this. Lu Xiaoyang ignored the coldness from Tang Qingru. As long as Tang Qianqian comes back, I promise I won't touch her. If Tang Qianqian is here, you won't be in the mood to stand in front of me. Everyone understood what Tang Qingru meant. If Tang Qianqian was here, everyone would probably be busy asking her to help grow new plants. Even if they wanted to do experiments, they would at most draw some blood. They wouldn't do too much experiments on Tang Qianqian. After all, Tang Qianqian represented a true new life. If something went wrong, it would be too late to regret it. Where there's a will, there's a way. Aren't you unwilling to let your daughter do experiments? As long as you can get Tang Qianqian back, I won't have any ideas about your daughter. Not only won't I have any ideas about your daughter, but I'll also help you keep the secret. Lu Xiaoyang said with a grin. The gloominess on his face disappeared. How is it? Nothing much. If you want to find Tang Qianqian, that's your business. Why are you threatening me with such conditions? Tang Qingru didn't take the bait at all. I think you guys are dreaming. Whether I can find Tang Qianqian or not, you guys have won. If you can't find her, you can still use Xiaogua as an experiment. If you find her, you will have Tang Qianqian. I'll stay here and not move. If worse comes to worst, I'll just fight to the death. Anyway, it's incomparably painful to let Xiaogua do the experiment. I might as well fight here. The smile on Lu Xiaoyang's face disappeared again. He really didn't expect this woman's brain to work so fast. Seventh young master, do you have news about Tang Qianqian? He Ting suddenly asked. Otherwise, Lu Xiaoyang wouldn't have mentioned this suddenly. There must be something else. Lu Xiaoyang said, a little. I know where she is, but it won't be easy to bring her back. After all, the people who took her are of high status, and they're in the territory of the Cosmic Alliance Empire. If we fight, we won't be able to gain the upper hand. We might even lose all of our people. Also, Chapter 2707. Hearing this, He Ting knew that things weren't simple. Also, this woman's life is very good. Anlin treats her well. From the news we received, Anlin plans to marry this woman as his wife. Even if her spiritual power is trash, her ability alone is enough to be his wife. If Anlin really marries her as his wife, he might be the next Luoluo Alliance Empire. Lu Xiaoyang glanced at He Ting. Major General she's your woman after all. Don't you have any thoughts? I also heard that she wasn't willing and seemed to miss you. I heard that this woman used to be infatuated with you. She must have agreed to that matter because she liked you a lot. Hearing this, He Ting didn't have any reaction. At this moment, he didn't like this woman at all. The only thing he knew about this woman was that her talent was very important. Major General come over for a moment. Actually, I have an idea. Perhaps, there's a chance for that woman to cooperate and bring her back. From what I know, she's actually quite free. She has a lot of say with Anlin. It's a bit difficult to do something, but it's also easy to say. Most importantly, she has a few loyal followers by her side. He Ting and Lu Xiaoyang went out. Not long after, they came back. We've already thought of another way. Perhaps we can bring Tang Qianqian back, Lu Xiaoyang said. But before that, you can't leave casually. Also, I hope that your daughter can provide a bit of blood for my researchers every day. That's not too much, right? We can go nowhere. It's impossible to draw blood. Tang Qingru didn't give in at all. Once she gave in, she could only give in step by step. Lu Xiaoyang wasn't a person who followed the rules and kept his word. Because of this, Lu Xiaoyang had a headache. Seventh young master has already given in a lot. It's just a bit of blood, He Ting also said and looked at Tang Gua, who was in Tang Qingru's arms. Xiao Gua, I promise. Tang Gua found it funny but hesitated on the surface. Tang Qingru grabbed her hand. Don't believe them. Children were indeed easy to coax. Tang Qingru only felt that Lu Xiaoyang and He Ting were despicable and shameless. Colonel Tang, you won't let us wait here in vain. You have to give us some hope, right? Only a little. Tang Gua asked. She definitely had to draw blood. If she didn't draw blood, how could the virus she injected spread? Then all her efforts would be in vain. Only a little bit, I promise. Just as many test tubes the size of a finger. Tang Qingru wasn't willing to do that, but Tang Gua didn't have time to think about it. She was a child. It shouldn't be a problem for her to coax Tang Qingru another day. System, seriously, anyone can be coaxed. The host is really shameless. In the end, Tang Gua and Tang Qingru stayed in a closed room for the time being and couldn't go anywhere. After her blood was drawn, Tang Qingru kept a cold face and didn't communicate with her. But even so, he still held her hand. This time, Tang Gua coaxed her for a long time. In the end, he found a relatively mature reason for Tang Qingru to speak. You agreed because you were afraid that they would make things difficult for me, not because of He Ting. Tang Gua nodded repeatedly. She was afraid that Tang Qingru wouldn't be able to win if they quarreled. It shouldn't hurt to draw a little blood. Chapter 2708. And with mommy watching, they won't dare to draw too much blood. Unlike daddy, he won't stop them no matter how much blood they draw. Tang Qingru saw the sadness in the little girl's eyes and instantly understood. Even though the little girl was only 7 years old, she wasn't an ordinary child. She was smart and couldn't really not understand anything. I'll protect you. Tang Qingru did her best. When they were locked in the sealed space, He Ting had already set off to carry out his and Lu Xiaoyang's plan. At the same time, the laboratory would draw a small tube of Tang Gua's blood every day. They didn't know that when the blood came into contact with the air, it would instantly emit a virus that would attach to the human body. These viruses would be brought out of the laboratory and spread. In a short period of time, they didn't see any problems for the time being. But after 2 months, the situation changed. The plants that had started to wither slowly started to wither rapidly in some places. Basically, all of them would die in one night. Because this happened on the main planet of the Cosmos Alliance, everyone took it very seriously. They started to study those plants, but it was impossible to make any progress in such a short period of time. But the plants continued to wither. The system had been paying attention to the situation outside. At night, it even took pictures of the withered plants. At first, he thought that it was the invasion of the strange virus, but later he found out that it wasn't like that. Because he caught the source of the virus. It was actually released from the laboratory. Madam Host, there are a lot of plants outside that have withered. Even some of the trees on the streets have died overnight. It's about time. System, okay, he knew that it was his dear host who did it. This was too ruthless. Really, what the other party was afraid of happened. Back to Billy and Emmanuel's side, the plot was too strong. They still met Tang Chanchan. When Emmanuel met Tang Chanchan, it was Nalan's admirers who were bullying Tang Chanchan. In order to keep Tang Chanchan's identity a secret, Nalan had identified Tang Chanchan as the woman he liked. This made countless admirers unhappy. At that time, Tang Chanchan was bullied by those admirers and fell from the high platform. According to the plot, Emmanuel would definitely run over to catch the beautiful Asian girl. Although Emmanuel did not know Tang Chanchan, he could guess a little from the various news sources. When Tang Chanchan fell from the high platform, he didn't rush over to catch her. Instead, he subconsciously took a step back. Tang Gua had told him the plot, and Anyuran would appear. Sure enough, without him, Anlin successfully caught Tang Chanchan even though she was a little far away. He was relieved that Emmanuel and Tang Chanchan had avoided contact with each other. Every day, he was worried that he would meet the school bell's mother. It was really frightening. Perhaps it was Emmanuel's cold look that attracted Tang Chanchan's attention. She didn't have any other thoughts. She was just curious. Emmanuel, I feel like you're different from them. Emmanuel, no, he's the same as everyone else. There's really nothing special about him. Please stop looking at him. He really couldn't bear it. He didn't want to die, and he didn't want his family to be humiliated. He didn't want to lose his mind for the sake of the school bell's mother. He didn't want his IQ to drop, and he didn't dare to be the school bell's stepfather. Chapter 2709. They were all staring at me curiously. They were either curious about me, or they didn't like me, or they hated me, or... But you... Hey, Emmanuel, I haven't finished yet. Why did you? Tang Chanchan looked at Emmanuel's back and muttered, "You're really different. I've never met anyone who ran away as if I was going to eat them." After Tang Chanchan said he was different, Emmanuel was so scared that he immediately went back to the lab and didn't come out for a long time. He knew the main plot, so he planned to stay there until Tang Chanchan left the Luo Alliance Empire. It was too scary. If he didn't pay attention, he would be targeted by the school bell's mother. It was really scary. In addition, he also told Billy about this matter. "Billy, you guys really met." "Emmanuel, Billy, let me tell you. Although I've been trying to avoid meeting her, I don't know why, but we still met that day." It was exactly what the school bell said about the plot. Now I finally understand what the school bell meant when she said the plot was very powerful. Anyway, I won't come out to drink with you for a while. You have to be careful. I don't dare to meet the school bell's mother. I'm scared to death. You know what? If I didn't know the plot, I would have rushed over to save a woman when I saw her fall from such a high place. Then, you know. Billy's face on the screen was very serious. "I know, Billy. As the general of the Luo Alliance Empire, I will do my best to overcome this difficulty. I won't let my soldiers die because of a woman. I won't bring shame to my family, and I won't let the people of the Empire down." Emmanuel, okay, Billy, I'll hang up first. Anyway, you have to be careful. I don't dare to go out for a while. Billy, who had hung up with Emmanuel, had a very serious expression. General Billy, you look a bit pale. Did a strange creature suddenly attack you? Billy's adjutant saw Billy sitting in his seat with a heavy expression and subconsciously asked. Then, he refuted in his heart. If a xenogenic creature was going to attack at this time, Billy would have told everyone to prepare for battle. He wouldn't be sitting there thinking. Billy shook his head. No. However, although this is not the time for large numbers of mutant creatures to attack humans, you must strengthen your defenses. You must not give them the slightest chance to attack and harm the people of the Empire. Yes, I understand. The aide-de-camp felt strange. Since a while ago, General Billy had become more serious about killing xenogenic creatures and guarding the border. He had become stricter with his subordinates. Of course, this was a good thing, so they had no complaints. By the way, what can I do for you? The adjutant also remembered the reason why he came to see Billy. It's like this, General Billy. Just now, your family said that they couldn't contact you. They asked me to tell you to reply to them when you're free. Just now, Billy was talking to Emmanuel. Earlier, he had indeed felt that there were other signals connecting, but he had ignored them. Soon, Billy managed to contact his family. The person who appeared on the screen was his mother, a very elegant woman. My Billy, you finally replied to me. Chapter 27:10. Billy asked, Mom, what's the matter? Billy, when are you coming home? I remember that this isn't the time for the alien creatures to invade. Also, I remember that you applied for a vacation a while ago. Why aren't you back yet? Billy said, I cancelled my vacation. Why? Billy, you can't cancel your vacation. It won't take up too much of your time. You should apply for a few days of vacation first. Billy felt that something was wrong. Mom, what's the matter? Here's the thing, Billy. Using the old saying from the Cosmos Alliance Empire, you're not young anymore. You're already several hundred years old. Your elder brothers and younger brothers are all married. Your younger brother's son, my little grandson, already has a girl he likes. But Billy, what's wrong with you? It's been so many years. Why haven't you brought back a beautiful daughter-in-law for me? Billy raised his eyebrows. So, I've found a few good girls for you. Come back and take a look. If you like them, you can get married, Billy. Billy said, what if they don't like me? My Billy, don't worry. The girls I've picked for you will all be satisfied with you. So, it's fine as long as you're satisfied. Billy. Is that even possible? Looking at Billy's confused face, Billy's mother was speechless. Her Billy was so outstanding that he had no idea how many girls in the entire Luoluo Alliance Empire were willing to be his wife. But her son was like an emotionless weapon. He was only interested in the alien creatures. If there was a good-looking girl among the alien creatures, perhaps Billy wouldn't be single anymore. Billy's mother was delusional. No, Mom. I don't think I need a wife right now. No matter what Billy's mother said, he refused. He felt that it was better to stay on a border planet. It was better to resist the alien creatures here than to be targeted by the school bell. Resisting the alien creatures was his duty. It was also something he liked to do. But meeting the school bell's mother would be a disaster for him. Billy's mother was a bit disappointed, but she didn't force him. She only asked him to think about it for 2 more days. After the signal was cut off, Billy heaved a sigh of relief. At this time, he definitely couldn't go back to the main planet. After all, the school bell's mother was there. It was too dangerous. However, Billy's happiness didn't last long. He soon received news that Prince Anurin would come to the border planet for some unknown reason. It just so happened that he was in charge of Planet Lika. Aneurin was an ambitious person, but this had little to do with him. But he clearly remembered that the school bell's mother was currently with Aneurin, right? Billy quickly connected to Billy's mother's personal terminal. Mom, I think I should listen to you and try to meet those beautiful girls. What if I meet someone I like? I really shouldn't reject you. Billy, Mom. Billy's application for vacation went smoothly. Although Aneurin's arrival would cause a certain amount of commotion here, However, the other party seemed to be very low-key. Not many people knew about it, and there was no need for a general to take care of him. Coincidentally, on the day he left, he bumped into Annalyn and Tang Qianqian, who came with him. Annalyn had brought Tang Qianqian to this place to cultivate plants. Chapter 27:11. There were too many eyes on the main planet, so it was very eye-catching. Moreover, they still had to conduct other experiments. In addition, they also wanted to confirm whether Tang Qianqian's ability could allow plants to survive in such a harsh environment. Therefore, they chose the area that Billy was responsible for. On this border planet, most of the plants had withered. The resources that the soldiers needed had to be supplied from other places. If plants could grow here and slowly restore life on this planet, then Tang Qianqian's existence would bring a huge change to the Luo Alliance Empire. Now that Billy's application for a vacation was so smooth, it was inevitable that Annalyn played a role in it. Billy was indeed a loyal general of the Empire, but he was not one of his people. Now that Billy took the initiative to take a vacation, he could not be happier. Instead, he thought that Billy was not willing to participate and made room for him. General Billy, it's really a pity that you're going to take a vacation as soon as I arrived. Although he was overjoyed, Annalyn still said politely. Billy's face was tense. He only glanced at Tang Qianqian, who was looking at him curiously from the corner of his eye. He quickly retracted his gaze. It's indeed a pity. Since the eldest prince is here, please help yourself. They should be able to entertain the eldest prince well. Is he General Billy? The hero of the Luo Alliance Empire, the idol of all the young girls. I heard that those young girls all want to be his wife. Tang Qianqian was indeed curious. After all, she had never come into contact with such a person before. Moreover, this General Billy looked very strange. It was as if he was unwilling to look at her. Just like Emmanuel, he avoided her gaze, as if she was some kind of jackal, tiger, or leopard that wanted to eat people. She also knew that her talent would move many people's hearts. Those who knew this looked at her very eagerly. From the eldest Prince Annalyn, she knew that Emmanuel and this General Billy should know that she carried that talent. That was why she felt strange. Those who knew her looked at her as if they really wanted to snatch her away. At this time, not only was Billy's face tense, but his entire body was tense. As expected, Emmanuel did not lie to him. The school bell's mother was really scary. She actually looked at him with such a special gaze. Actually, I went back for a blind date this time. I heard from my mother that she introduced me to a young lady and asked me to go back and take a look. Billy felt that he had to make it clear to his mother that he was about to go on a blind date, so she should not look at him with such a strange gaze. Even if he saw it 10,000 times, he wouldn't have the slightest bit of admiration or infatuation for her. Yes, he was going on a blind date. He might meet a very beautiful and gentle girl, and then this girl would become his wife. Congratulations, General Billy. Maybe the next time we meet, you'll be a bridegroom. When she found out that Billy was going back for a blind date and had no ulterior motives for Tang Qianqian, Annalyn was a little happy. He coveted Tang Qianqian's talent, but after interacting with her, he had already fallen in love with her. If someone had designs on her, he would be very, very angry. After leaving the border planet, Billy let out a sigh of relief and quickly connected to Emmanuel's signal. Chapter 27:12. Just like you said, the school bell's mother is really scary. Her eyes make me very uneasy. Emmanuel asked, so, did you see her? Billy said, I did. Although the plot changed a little, we still saw her. He remembered that Tanguy told him that in the plot, he listened to his mother and went back. When he returned, he happened to be on the same road as Anlin, so he naturally met Tang Chanqian. Then, he devoted his heart to her and it was a tragedy. Emmanuel asked, what about you now? Billy said, I think what my mother said is very reasonable. I should meet more young girls. That way, I won't fall in love with the school bell's mother like in the plot. Emmanuel, Billy said, I'm on my way home. I'll listen to my mother and meet some young and cute girls. If I can meet a girl I like this time, I plan to get married. As a responsible soldier, since I'm married, I won't think about other things. I'll treat my wife well for the rest of my life. Emmanuel, Billy said, actually, Emmanuel, you can try to meet some young and cute girls. Maybe you'll find one you like soon. Emmanuel, maybe I can try. No, forget it. When Tanguy asked about Tang Chanqian, she also asked about Emmanuel and Billy. When she learned that Billy was going on blind dates every day, she was dumbfounded. Blind dates? Emmanuel said, after seeing your mother that day, Billy was scared out of his wits. He didn't plan to go home at first, but now he's obsessed with blind dates. He wants to meet all kinds of young and cute girls to find his true love. He meets at least 3 or 4 girls a day. Sometimes, he meets 7 or 8. Did you know? When I heard that Billy was going on blind dates, all the girls in the Luoluo Alliance Empire went crazy. Tanguy. Billy, this man, was poisonous. System, not only poisonous, it was highly poisonous. Tanguy said, so, my mother is on planet Lika now, helping Anlin with his plant breeding experiment. That's right. The reason why this matter had always been handled by Anlin and hadn't been escalated to the Empire. That was because once the Empire intervened, it would no longer be a small matter. Tang Chanqian was a member of the Tang family of the Cosmos Alliance Empire, which was not a small family. At that time, the Cosmos Alliance Empire would have an excuse to force them to hand Tang Chanqian over. Right now, Anlin's actions were actually supported by the Luoluo Alliance, but on the surface, it was considered his own actions. Similarly, if the Great Universe Alliance Empire found out, they could only rely on their own abilities to snatch people away. It would not escalate into a war between the two empires. This was undoubtedly something that both sides had tacitly agreed upon. Emmanuel, school beauty, why haven't the people of the Cosmic Alliance Empire come to snatch your mother? Are they lost? Tanguy, the system thought. This guy has something to do with poison as well. It seems like he wants to give the other party directions. It was not that Emmanuel did not think that Tang Chanqian was not important, but since he knew the plot, what was there to worry about? Wasn't there still the school bell? The school bell was too powerful. He could never go against her. If he really did that, it would be really stupid. Therefore, it was best for Tang Chanqian to return to the Cosmos Alliance Empire. They should be there soon. Don't worry, Mr. Plotline is very powerful. After all, my mother is the female lead and my father is the male lead. They will definitely meet. Emmanuel, then I'll stay in the lab for now. It's too dangerous outside. I'm a little scared. There was no way he would go on blind dates. He was not as shameless as Billy, who went to see young girls every day. Chapter 27:13. After cutting off the signal with Emmanuel, Tangua continued to eat and drink as usual. The people in the laboratory were getting busier and busier. They hadn't come to draw her blood for 3 days. This made her feel a little regretful. It seemed that this virus was destined to not spread too far. However, the current situation was enough to make the other party suffer. Everyone in the laboratory looked very tired. Especially Lu Xiaoyang. His expression was very serious. Recently, Lu Xiaoyang had talked to He Ting many times. He told He Ting to bring Tang Qianqian back. The previous virus hadn't been solved, now a new virus had appeared. This was something he didn't expect at all. Another thing was that the researchers who did the spiritual power experiment on Tang Guo realized that their spiritual power was almost crippled after they recovered. Thus, even if they wanted to study Tang Guo again, they didn't dare to do anything because of Tang Qingru's protection and the few people who were crippled previously. "Mom, did something happen outside?" "They look very anxious." Tang Qingru said, "Maybe. Is Xiao Guo worried about something?" "No, I just want to read. I haven't finished reading the mecha information you sent me before." "Wait a little longer. No matter what, I will bring you out." If Tang Qianqian couldn't be brought back, she could only use other methods to bring Xiao Guo out. A month later. No one knew what method He Ting used, but he finally brought Tang Qianqian back. After Tang Qianqian left the Luo Alliance Empire, Emmanuel left the laboratory. Billy, who kept going on blind dates and even extended his vacation, also ended his blind date trip. Although those young girls were very cute and nice, it was a pity that he didn't find his true love. Tang Qianqian was brought back. Tang Qingru and Tang Guo were finally free. Tang Qingru brought Tang Guo home. She didn't expect to see Tang Qianqian at home. She glanced at He Ting, who was standing at the side. Before she could say anything, He Ting spoke. "She wants to see Xiao Guo." Tang Qingru's voice was still cold. "Got it." She let go of Tang Guo's hand. "Now that she's back, Major General He, don't have any ideas about Xiao Guo anymore." "I know." Tang Qingru turns to go upstairs. Tang Guo pulls her. "Mom, didn't you say that you can't let me be alone with Dad? What if Dad takes me out again?" Although he didn't have any feelings for his daughter, He Ting still felt a little upset when he heard this. Tang Qianqian's eyes were fixed on Tang Guo. Her eyes turned red as she stared at Tang Guo. This adorable little girl was her daughter. Ever since she gave birth to her daughter, she had never seen her. She did not expect that her daughter would suffer because of her talent. This made Tang Qianqian blame herself. If she had been more careful, her daughter would not have suffered so much. "This time, your father probably won't hurt you," Tang Qingru said. In fact, she knew that the child would soon find out who her biological mother was. In order to protect Tang Qianqian, those people would also discuss a way to make the Luo Alliance Empire's people not dare to come and snatch her away, whether it was openly or secretly. She no longer liked He Ting as much as she did in the past, so she had no regrets. As for Tang Qianqian, she did not have any special hatred towards her and did not care much about her. Chapter 27:14. Speaking of which, Tang Qianqian was more pitiful. However, this woman was a little stupid. She was snatched and used by others. It was as if she didn't learn her lesson and didn't mind at all. Perhaps, being a little stupid would make her happier. After Tang Qianqian saw Tang Guo, she looked at her eagerly. Because of her identity, perhaps because someone had warned her, she didn't dare to show anything. In less than 2 days, the He family and family Tang sat together to discuss this matter. The matter was already out in the open. It wasn't something that Lu Xiaoyang could decide. However, when the time came, he would still be in charge of the cultivation of the plants. He would have some say in it. The two families decided that with Tang Qianqian's current role, they had to give her an important identity so that the Luoluo Alliance Empire wouldn't dare to touch her. After discussing, the two families decided to use the matter of Tang Qianqian bringing back to promote He Ting to a military position and let Tang Qianqian marry He Ting. Didn't they have a daughter? As for the reason, they could just find a few. After all, public opinion was controlled by them. The Tang family didn't mind letting Tang Qianqian marry someone else, but the He family did. Thus, this matter was decided. Of course, this matter had to be approved by Tang Qingru. It would be troublesome if she made a fuss. Tang Qingru, I don't have any objections. I'm willing to break off the engagement on my own. However, I have a condition. No matter what happens to Tang Qianqian in the future, you are not allowed to use Xiaoguo as an experiment. Once you break the agreement, I, Tang Qingru, will put my words here today. At that time, I will take my mecha and detonate it on the main planet as a reward for breaking my promise. Tang Qingru's words shocked everyone. When they heard her condition, they heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Tang Qingru really cared about Tang Guo. Since Tang Qianqian was back, it was no problem for them to agree to this condition. After Tang Qingru broke off the engagement with He Ting, she quickly married Tang Qianqian. Naturally, Tang Guo was also told her true identity. She showed the confusion of a child appropriately. Of course, she didn't forget to show resistance towards He Ting. On the day when Tang Qingru packed her luggage and left, Tang Guo stopped her at the gate. Mom! You should know that I'm not your mother. Tang Qingru reached out her hand and finally placed it on her head. You should call me Aunt. But I still want to call you Mom. There seemed to be snowflakes melting in Tang Qingru's cold eyes. The corners of her lips curled up like a flash in the pan. Then it's up to you. You can come and play with me in the future. Tang Guo's life didn't change much, but the addition of Tang Qianqian made the whole house lively. She only acted like a child and let Tang Qianqian understand that she did not like this father. Tang Qianqian said it twice, but later found that it was useless. She was afraid that she would make her angry, so she didn't say much. At this time, her grade was going to organize a collective planet exploration, so she had the opportunity to go out. A few days ago, the system had told her that it had captured a mysterious aura. If her guess was correct, it should be the source of the virus. Since they were going to explore a certain planet, she planned to go and see what was going on. So, when they were exploring a certain planet, she sneaked away when no one was paying attention. That place was not too far from here. Chapter 27:15. Madam Host, the aura I finally sensed came from this place. But now that I'm here, I can't tell what it is because the mysterious aura is everywhere on this planet. But I'm sure that the thing that caused those plants to wither definitely came from this abandoned planet. Although the system thought that it was a very powerful system, none of the systems it had met so far could beat it. But it wasn't arrogant enough to think that it could scan everything. Even the great host didn't think that she was the best. Therefore, she had to always remember that there was always someone better than her. There must be a system that was even better than her. Madam Host, be careful. I'm not sure what it is. The Madam Host is still a 7 or 8-year-old girl. No matter how powerful she is, she can't be compared to an adult. The system was a little worried about her small arms and legs. Tangguo flew the aircraft around the abandoned planet. With her extraordinary spiritual power, she had already captured the other party's location. She didn't know whether the other party had discovered her or not, but she had prepared Margaret's teleportation talisman. Once there was a crisis, she would move away immediately. She wouldn't drag it out. When she arrived at a certain valley, she was a little surprised. Compared to the abandoned planet, this place was completely different. They could actually see some fresh and lush plants. Although there were very few of them, it gave people a very strange feeling. Based on the situation in the galaxy, she had already guessed that the thing that caused the plants to wither wasn't some terrifying virus, but something else. But other than some plants that were growing well, there were no other living creatures. Under her puzzled gaze, she kept scanning the surroundings with her spiritual power. Finally, her gaze landed on a smooth and round stone. She narrowed her eyes slightly. Although she didn't dare to believe it, she was sure that the smooth and round stone was the source of the mysterious aura. She walked up to the stone. The stone was about half the size of a fist. It was completely black and had a very smooth surface. The patterns on it looked like they had grown in the sky. She had to admit that this stone was quite beautiful, even though it was black. She hesitated for a moment. She didn't feel any danger from this stone. Finally, she reached out and picked it up. Seeing that there was some dirt on it, she took out her handkerchief to wipe it. What a smooth and round stone. Madam Host, are you sure it's not dangerous? Also, are you sure that the death of the interstellar plant is really caused by this stone? It's filled with that kind of aura. It should be this small stone. This is the first time I've seen such a good-looking little Shirtu. It's not bad to keep him as a collector's item. Tangguo wiped little Shirtu clean and was about to put it in her pocket when a voice suddenly sounded in her ear. My name is not little Shirtu. Ha! I'm Xinyao. The voice wasn't loud. It sounded like a little boy's voice. It sounded like he was about her age. Xinyao. Yes, my name is Xinyao. This time, Tangguo heard the source of the sound. It was from the small stone she was about to put into her pocket. She moved the stone under her line of sight and carefully observed it for a while. She touched it and said, "Are you this small stone?" Chapter 27:16. My name is Xinyao. Xinyao is a small rock. Yes. Tangguo pondered for a moment and asked, "Are you a rock spirit?" There are ancient records that say that rocks can also become spirits. Are you a rock spirit? I think so. Then why are you here? The plants around are dying. Did you do it? I don't know why I'm here. Shenyao's slightly childish voice sounded. I originally just wanted to use the power of this world to find the way home, but I don't know where the way home is. The power of this world seems to be insufficient. Even if I eat it all, there's no way to open the passage. After eating so much, I was barely able to transform into a human form. I'm considering whether to give up or eat this whole place. Tangguo finally understood. It turned out that the withered plants were caused by this guy. He did it to absorb energy. Then have you thought it through? Do you plan to eat this place in one bite or give up? Xinyao was silent for a moment before saying, I originally planned to swallow the power of this world in one bite, but then I panicked and gave up on the idea. My intuition tells me that if I eat this world, something bad will definitely happen. The system seemed to understand something and also knew why Xinyao panicked. If he dared to swallow this place, he would never be able to see the great host again. How could he not panic? This guy was really unlucky. He turned into a cat, then a fish. This time, he even turned into a rock. Ha 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 ha, he laughed himself to death. Then what do you plan to do now? You can't eat this world. Looking at you, it seems like you need to replenish your energy regularly or slowly swallow the power of this world. So I chose to return to my original form and sleep here. I'll try to reduce the use of energy. This way, I can stay here longer. Why must you stay here? You can either swallow this world or give up on treatment. In the next life, you'll be a good rock again. I don't know. Since you found me, then take me away. Didn't you say that my appearance was not bad and that I could be a collector's item? Can you take me back and keep me? System, he seemed to have understood something. Only someone with a thick skin could stay by his wife's side without a change in expression. Tangua said, "All right, I'll take you with me, but don't consume the power of this world without my permission in the future." "All right, I'll listen to you." System, what an innocent little boy. Oh, no, little Shirtu. He was so easily coaxed. Absorbing the energy of this world seems to be related to your life and death. Why are you listening to me? Xinyao, that. I want to listen to you. You will die if you listen to me. I, Xinyao, am not afraid of death. Tangua patted the rock. I think you want to die in my pocket. You're still so indecent even after becoming a rock. Xinyao, how is he not serious? He wasn't afraid of death in the first place. Now that there was someone to play with him, it was much better than staying here alone. Can you transform into a human now? I want to take a look. I'll try. Then, a little boy about 8 years old appeared in front of Tangua. He was wearing black clothes and looked like a cute little boy. Sure enough, he had red lips and white teeth. He was very likable. Are you hungry? Xinyao said uncomfortably, a little. He had been merciful all these years, which allowed this world to continue to survive. Actually, he was very hungry. He was so hungry that he was panicking. Chapter 27:17. If it wasn't for his control, this place would have long declined, and the humans would have almost died out. What Xinyao didn't say was that he seemed to vaguely understand why he couldn't swallow this world. Once he revealed that kind of thought, he would panic. When this little girl appeared, he found the answer. Although it was unbelievable, he really seemed to be waiting for her to come, waiting for her to take him away. It was as if something was destined that she would come and take him away. You want to follow me? That's right. Xinyao nodded. If he didn't follow her, who would he follow? When she appeared and picked him up, he decided to follow her, so he didn't resist. In that case, you'll be my rock from now on. Her rock. This was a little strange, but Xinyao didn't refute it. He didn't feel that he was wrong. Since you're my rock, I'll provide your food in the future. The system felt that the host might want to empty the inventory in the system space. Basically, the host wouldn't use those things. She would probably let this guy eat them. Just as he thought this, a few jade boxes appeared in Tangua's hand. Inside were thousands of years old lingji mushrooms and ginseng. Come, eat more. Since you're my rock, I can't treat you badly. When the lingji mushrooms and ginseng were taken out, Xinyao couldn't take his eyes off them. Sure enough, he made the right choice to follow this little girl. Tangua took out a small bag and put the lingji mushrooms and ginseng into it, letting Xinyao carry it himself. Then, she stretched out her hand. Come, I'll take you away. Xinyao held a ginseng in one hand and gnawed on it with relish. He quickly reached out his other hand and grabbed Tangua's small hand. System, so easy to coax. You can fool a little boy with just a few words. The host is amazing. Tang Guo brought Xinyao back to the planet where the school organized the adventure. There wasn't much time, so the people in the school didn't notice anything unusual. However, they still felt strange about Xinyao, who suddenly appeared beside Tang Guo. Tang Guo casually found an excuse. Because she was now the daughter of Lieutenant General He Ting, the teacher didn't dare to ask too much. During the adventure, Tang Guo kept Xinyao by her side. When it was over, she even brought him back. Everyone thought that Xinyao was Tang Guo's childhood friend. They even guessed that he was a junior from a prominent family who came to play with Tang Guo. Tang Guo brought Xinyao home. He Ting was very busy every day and couldn't take care of these things. Because of Tang Guo's rejection of him, he basically didn't care about Tang Guo's matters. However, Tang Qianqian asked about Xinyao. Tang Guo explained, "I thought he was quite pitiful and was so good-looking. It was a pity for him to be among the refugees, so I brought him back. So that's how it is. My Xiao Guo is really a very kind little girl." Tang Qianqian was a little touched when she saw that her daughter had actually answered her question. "Then, mother will arrange a room for him at home and let him stay there too. You can even play together." "Thank you." Tang Guo looked at Tang Qianqian happily decorating the room and shook her head. If Tang Qingru saw that she had brought a strange boy back, she would probably check all 18 generations of this little boy's ancestors in a short period of time. Her biological mother's heart was really big. No wonder she was still living happily even though things weren't very good. Chapter 27:18. However, this was also convenient for her. She didn't have to explain too much. Not only did Tang Qianqian help decorate the room, but she also knew that Xinyao was a refugee. In order to please Tang Guo, she even helped Xinyao get an official status in the galaxy. This kind of thing was relatively easy for the current Tang Qianqian. Now, the entire empire protected her very well. They were afraid that she would be in danger and wouldn't even take a bit of her blood. They just let her help cultivate plants. All the plants she cultivated could grow very well. Tang Guo knew that this was a special ability bestowed by the heavens to the chosen one. If Xinyao didn't exist, Tang Qianqian wouldn't have such a powerful ability. She even secretly let Xinyao try to absorb the life force of the plants Tang Qianqian cultivated at home. There's a mysterious power protecting these plants. Shenyao's face was serious as he observed the potted plant in front of him. Can it be absorbed? You can absorb it after breaking this protective shield, but it won't be as easy as before. In the past, you just needed to swallow it in one gulp. Now, there's an additional process. So it was like this. The reason why Tang Qianqian's plants didn't die and could still grow healthily was because of the protective shield outside the plants. Xinyao had only swallowed the life force of the plants in one gulp. He was so far away, so he definitely wouldn't have noticed this. "Guogua, do you want me to swallow all these?" Xinyao looked at the potted plant in front of him and seemed to be drooling. He hadn't eaten this kind of plant protected by the energy shield before and didn't know how it tasted. Tang Guo knocked his head and stuffed a ginseng into his mouth. "Don't look so greedy. It's as if I didn't give you enough to eat. You can't swallow it now. In the future, I'll tell you to swallow it." She was looking forward to those people coming to catch her. If they dared to catch her, she would let Xinyao out and swallow all the plants in their territory. System: a weak and helpless little system like him should just hide in a corner and tremble in fear. Ever since Tang Qianqian returned to the Universal Alliance Empire and married He Ting, she helped the Universal Alliance Empire cultivate countless plants. There were all kinds of vegetables and fruits, which solved the galaxy's biggest problem. The people of the Luoluo Alliance Empire couldn't sit still. Because of Tang Qianqian's appearance, they ignored the plants that had stopped withering. Although the plant's life force wouldn't recover immediately, as time passed, it wouldn't be worse than it was now. But those who saw the Universe Alliance Empire's situation couldn't sit still. Some space pirates, bandits, and the Luoluo Alliance Empire, they wanted to take Tang Qianqian back. At this moment, the news that Tang Guo was Tang Qianqian and Yiting's daughter and that she might have that mysterious power was leaked out. S2. If he could capture Tang Qianqian's daughter, even if he couldn't research anything, he could still negotiate with Tang Qianqian. Maybe he could get some benefits. Tang Tut. Was. What about this little guy? Chapter 27:19. I've checked. He's a kid born as a refugee. When we leave the main planet, we'll throw him out and let him perish on his own. Although it was said to perish on his own, it was actually not giving him a way out. No matter how powerful the interstellar members were, they couldn't survive for long in space without protective gear. Not to mention a really ordinary little boy. Tang Guo and Shenyao were locked in a room of the aircraft. This room naturally blocked any signals and didn't restrict them. After all, they didn't think that two 7- or 8-year-old girls and a little boy could escape under such circumstances. Guo, can I swallow them now? Shenyao grabbed Tang Guo's little hand. The little boy's face was serious, and there was a faint cold light in his eyes. It felt like a storm was coming. Tang Guo clasped his palm, causing Shenyao's serious expression to collapse. He couldn't restore the tense and scary look from before. Little stone, can you still eat people? I haven't eaten before, but it should be similar to absorbing the vitality of plants. Just swallow their vitality. As he spoke, Shenyao nodded. I have a hunch that the vitality of humans should be more nutritious than that of plants. Tang Guo pulled her hand out and slapped him hard. Little stone, if you dare to eat people, I don't want you anymore. Then I won't eat them, Shenyao said quickly. Then kill them. Just kill them. I won't eat them if they eat me. If he ate people, Guoguo wouldn't like it. It was better not to eat them. Although the vitality of humans was more nutritious than that of plants, he didn't want to be abandoned by Guoguo and become a lonely little stone. Tang Guo held his hand again. Now that you've turned into a stone and entered my pocket, they won't do anything to me for the time being. As for how to teach them a lesson, I've already thought of it. Listen to my instructions later. Shenyao did as he was told and was extremely obedient. Guoguo was right. Those people who provoked Guoguo wouldn't have a good ending. The system was dumbfounded. During this period of time, it watched its host wander around with her little loyal dog every day. It was as if she was afraid that those people would not be able to find her. She even stood in a particularly conspicuous place, probably calculating every day when she would be caught. Tongzi, connect me to Emmanuel or Billy's signal. I want to talk to them. Okay, Madam Host. Emmanuel was the first to pick up the signal. Beauty, what's the situation? Have you been caught? Are we going to meet? Emmanuel, are you really happy that I was caught? Emmanuel was a little embarrassed. It's all because I was looking forward to meeting you. I knew that you would be fine, so I dared to hope that you would be caught. Of course, if you don't act according to the plan and meet us directly, I can't wait. Tang Guo said, as you wish, I've been captured. But I don't think the people who captured me are from the two allied empires. They're probably interstellar pirates or bandits. Then what do you need me to do? Tanguy said, I'm just informing you. You don't have to do anything. I'll take care of it myself. Since they dared to kidnap me, they have to bear the consequences. I'm contacting you to inform you of something. What is it? Emmanuel felt that this should be very important. Otherwise, Tanguy wouldn't have mentioned it alone. Chapter 27:20. Tanguy said, the crisis in the galaxy has been resolved. You don't have to worry about the plants dying anymore. However, don't tell anyone about this. Just tell Billy. I've told you about the plot, right? If the people from the Luo Alliance come to capture me, I'll teach them a lesson. If you tell them about this, they won't come to capture me. Emmanuel. Was the school bell testing his character? Although they were all from the Luo Alliance, the school bell was worrying too much. As long as the survival of the galaxy didn't happen, he couldn't be bothered to help those ambitious fellows. He might even laugh out loud when he saw them being unlucky. After getting Emmanuel's promise, Tanguy was relieved. It wasn't that she didn't trust Emmanuel. She just wanted to share a piece of good news with him. Little Stone, who had caused the crisis in the galaxy, was in her hands. Whether the galaxy would be in danger or not was up to the little stone in her pocket. System, ha ha ha, what do you mean by Little Stone has the final say? She was the one who had the final say. Little Stone still listened to her. This woman became a lowly. She was also a bad lowly. She was a bad lowly who led the little Shota astray. Regarding the sudden disappearance of Xinyao, those people were indeed surprised. They searched for a long time and guarded Tanguy even more strictly. After Tanguy was taken away, Tang Qianqian came back and learned about it. She was so anxious that she cried. She grabbed He Ting's sleeve and asked him to look for her. Tang Qianqian was very important. Hence, He Ting sent many people to look for her. In the end, they captured Tanguy being taken out of the main planet. They followed the signal and found that the other party's aircraft wasn't flying towards the territory of the two empires. Instead, it was flying out of their territory. This made He Ting feel troubled. Tang Qingru knew about this. Since she didn't have any special missions, she came to find He Ting. After knowing the direction in which Tanguy was taken, she turned around and was about to leave. The place Xiaoguo was taken to is within the territory of the Luo Alliance. It doesn't belong to the Luo Alliance or the Universe Alliance. Don't go there alone. You won't be able to save Xiaoguo. He Ting stopped her. Tang Qingru turned around. If we can't save her, then we won't go. Tang Qingru looked at Tang Qianqian, who had fainted from crying in He Ting's arms. You don't look nervous at all. As expected, this daughter isn't very important to you. Don't stop me. Tang Qingru left and chased in the direction where Tanguy was taken. He Ting frowned. He felt that Tang Qingru had completely lost her composure and had become impulsive. After Tang Qianqian woke up, her eyes turned red again. She told He Ting to find Tanguy no matter what. He Ting had no other choice but to agree. No matter what they ask for, you guys agree to it. They're probably after me. As long as they're willing to release Xiaoguo, you can use me in exchange. Of course not. He Ting denied it in his heart. Even if he agreed, no one else would agree, let alone him. However, He Ting still agreed verbally. He also sent people to check out the situation. However, he didn't directly send people to the chaotic star system. That place was like a tiger's den, and the people there were vicious and merciless. If the people of the Empire went there, it would be very easy for them to lose their lives, and there was no way for them to return. He couldn't let so many people sacrifice themselves for no reason just because of a little girl. At this moment, Tanguo had already been brought into the range of Wanxing, so she was still unaware of the situation here. When she entered the range of the chaotic stars, she heard many people cheering. She touched the divine Yao in her pocket and said, "Little Shirtu, you can slowly swallow them. When the sky turns dark, you can swallow them in big mouthfuls. Swallow all the plants in the range of the chaotic stars. Swallow them until you're full." Chapter 27-21. After hearing Tangua's words, Xinyao didn't hold back anymore. He started with the edge of the chaotic stars. The plants that were swept by him started to wither at a speed visible to the naked eye. They didn't have time to do anything to Tanguo for the time being. They just locked her up in a very secure place and gave her 2 nutritional supplements. She didn't cry or make a fuss, which made the people who took her even more vigilant. Even if she was locked up in a secure place, many people were arranged to guard the door, not giving her any chance to escape. The leader of this group had already gathered and was discussing what to do with Tanguo. Should they use her to negotiate with the Cosmic Alliance Empire, or should they use this little girl for experiments? I think it's better to have the best of both worlds. On one hand, let people study this little girl's genes and mental strength. On the other hand, send people to negotiate with the people of the Cosmic Alliance Empire. I think that even if Tang Qianqian agrees to the exchange, those people won't let her go. Therefore, we can slowly back off and let them give us fresh plants in the end. Stall for time, maybe we can get some useful genes from this little girl. This little girl is just cooperating with us to do a little experiment. It's fine as long as we don't kill her. Everyone agreed with the leader's words. They didn't care about the little girl's life or death. They were just afraid that if she really died, it would bring them trouble and they wouldn't get any benefits. So, when they told the researchers, they said several times that they could do any experiment. They would do everything they could to find useful information from the little girl. However, the only requirement was that she had to be alive. As long as she was alive, it would be fine. Speaking of which, there were no restrictions on the researchers' behavior at all. It was these cruel people who destroyed the original owner of the body, who had already been subjected to a mental strength experiment, and slowly turned her into a useless person. In the end, she was taken away without any ability to resist. After some discussion, these people decided to send Tanguo to the laboratory tomorrow to cooperate with the experiment. At the same time, they would send people to negotiate with the Cosmic Alliance Empire to get benefits. Capturing Tang Qianqian's daughter was a great thing. So, on this night, countless people in the Chaotic Stars area cheered. In truth, there were countless forces that existed within the Chaotic Star system. But this time, they were snatching people from the powerful Allied Empire, so they chose to work together for the sake of mutual benefits. Now that the Universe Alliance Empire had Tang Qianqian, perhaps they would have a Tanguo like Tang Qianqian in the future. Even if Tanguo did not have that kind of ability, she was Tang Qianqian's daughter. It was enough for them to do something. After they drank and cheered, they gradually fell asleep in the dark night. He was completely unaware that in the instant the sky darkened, in the area of the chaotic stars, from the outside to the center, large patches of plants began to wither and die without any warning. It wasn't until dawn that Tanguo heard a burp coming from her pocket. She couldn't help but giggle. "Little Shirtu, you're full this time, ah. I can even hear you burping." "Guogua, you heard wrong." Xinyao felt a little embarrassed. It had been a long time since he had eaten so much at once. Chapter 27-22. Absorbing the life force of all the plants in one xing in one night indeed made him feel satisfied and a little full. He subconsciously burped. Unexpectedly, Tangua happened to hear it. This made him feel a little embarrassed. Tangua took out Divine Yao. After eating so much, Divine Yao's body had indeed changed. Although it was smooth and beautiful before, it wasn't as deep as the patterns on the stone now. There were even more patterns. Little stone, how did you come to this place? I don't know. My memory is very vague and I can't remember much. I only vaguely remember that something happened and I rolled into this world from another place. The two worlds are very far apart and the wall is very thick. If you don't have enough power, you can't break through the space and go back. Do you want to go back? I used to want to. You don't want to anymore. Divine Yao, I don't want to anymore. It's good to stay with Guogua. It's very difficult to go back. Even if I swallow this world, I might not be able to open it. Also, I think it's not that important whether I go back or not. Then have you ever thought that if you don't go out, you will die? There's no power here that you need. Eating the life force of the plants can only maintain what you need. If you don't eat that life force, you will slowly turn into a real stone and die. Then if I die, will Guogua throw me away? Tangua was amused. What kind of brain circuit was this? He was about to die, but he was still worried about whether she would throw him away. He really turned into a stone and his brain was also petrified. Little stone, you're quite good-looking. Why would I throw you away? As long as Guogua doesn't throw me away and keeps me in her pocket, it's okay even if I die. Even if I die, I can still be by Guogua's side. Saying that he was a piece of rock was quite nice. Don't worry, I still have a lot of stock here. It's enough for you to eat. In every world she went to, she would collect many things that she could use, but in fact, she basically didn't know how to use them. Now, she could empty them and give them all to this stone to eat. Because the original owner's spiritual power was severely damaged in this world, she couldn't cultivate anymore. Although his lifespan was still very long, it was only the lifespan of an ordinary interstellar person, about 200 years. In addition to Tang Qianqian's stubbornness, the original owner lived to 300 years old, which was a very long time. There were different levels of spiritual power. The stronger one's spiritual power, the longer one could live. Therefore, people like Bill could easily live for thousands of years without any problem. Even if the stock she brought with her had been eaten by this little rock, the interstellar space had already recovered, and Tang Qianqian was constantly cultivating plants, so she wasn't afraid that the little rock would starve to death. Guogua, do you want to teach those people a lesson? I heard them talking about sending you to the laboratory tomorrow to conduct experiments on you. I think we should just kill them all. They're not good people. No, if we kill them, who will cause trouble for the two allied empires? Without these bandits, there will be friction between the two alliances. Let them stay. It was because of this group of bandits that the two allied empires didn't dare to have any conflicts and fight. Once he did that, the bandits would take the opportunity to invade and cause chaos in the interstellar space. Chapter 27-23. I'm a peace-loving person. I don't really like war. A lot of people die in war, you know. Shen Yao didn't really understand. He felt that anyone who bullied Guogua should be killed. However, he didn't refute Tangua's words. Since Guogua had said so, he wouldn't do anything in secret to avoid angering her. Tangua didn't know what Shen Yao was thinking. Through the photos sent back by the system, she saw that all the plants in the area around the chaotic stars had withered. She was in a good mood. At dawn, something big happened in the chaotic stars. All the plants withered and lost their vitality. There wasn't a single green leaf in the bandits' area. The bandits panicked. At first, they thought that the same thing had happened in the entire galaxy. But soon, they realized that it wasn't the case. That night, only the chaotic stars had such a situation. The withered plants in the chaotic stars had created a huge mess in the entire galaxy. They even suspected that the virus had been brewing for so long that it was going to erupt all at once. Emergency precautions had been taken everywhere. Perhaps only the Cosmic Alliance Empire, which had Tang Qianqian, wasn't so anxious. After all, the plants cultivated by Tang Qianqian could thrive in those harsh environments. Although such a big thing had happened, the bandits' previous decision hadn't changed. However, the people they sent to the Cosmic Alliance Empire to negotiate added some conditions to the content of the negotiation. On the other hand, Tang Guo was taken to the laboratory early in the morning. Just like before, these people were going to do blood research on her. However, they were far more anxious than the people of the Cosmic Alliance Empire. After drawing her blood, they began to experiment on her spiritual power. Anyway, it was fine as long as she could live, right? This sealed laboratory was similar to the one she had been in before. Around her, 7 or 8 experimenters with powerful mental power surrounded Tang Guo. Her small body was fixed to the bed. Her wrists, ankles, and neck were all locked to the bed. The material used was the strongest in the galaxy. Even He Ting, who had strong spiritual power and a strong physique, couldn't break free from this experimental bed. Guogua, can you just kill these few? Shen Yao couldn't sit still anymore. He was so angry that he wanted to devour the life force of these people. No, I'll teach them a lesson later. What's the rush? Don't let it fall out of your pocket. If they find out, you'll be thrown out. Hearing this, Divine Yao's real body hurriedly shrank into the pocket, afraid that it would fall out and be thrown out. While these experimenters were using their mind power on Tang Guo, the people sent by the bandits to negotiate with the Cosmic Alliance Empire also met up with them. Regardless of whether it was He Ting or the president of the Great Universal Alliance Empire, they both wanted to keep this matter a secret. They definitely couldn't let Tang Qianqian know about it. Tang Qianqian had not recovered recently because of the incident with Tang Guo. They were afraid that Tang Qianqian would not cooperate with them after knowing about this matter. At that time, it would cause them trouble and they would be at a disadvantage during the negotiation. He was more afraid that Tang Qianqian would do something against the empire in order to save Tang Guo. The current Tang Qianqian was protected by many people all day long, and they almost never left her side. Chapter 27-24. Because Tang Guo was taken away, it was a huge blow to her. Her eyes were red in the villa, and she couldn't help but cry when she thought of what had happened. She didn't know that the two sides were already negotiating. There was another person, Tang Qingru, who had already sneaked into the area of Wanxing. She disguised herself a little, making herself look more like someone from Wanxing, and secretly asked about Tang Guo's situation. Because so many things had happened, especially the matter of the plants dying, the people of Wanxing were in a mess, and they didn't realize that Tang Qingru had already sneaked in. And the group of people who had conducted the spiritual power experiment on Tang Guo had already fainted in the laboratory. Of course, she had also fainted, and her face was also extremely pale, almost scaring Shen Yao. It's fine, I'm pretending, don't make a fuss. If I don't pretend, they will suspect that there's something wrong with me. Oh, Guogua is really fine. If there was something wrong with me, would I still talk to you so casually? After turning into a stone, Her brain was indeed not so smart, and she looked stupid. Guogua, are we leaving now? Leaving for what? I'm still waiting for them to conduct the next experiment on me. I just had a meal, so I'm so full, I need to digest it. Xinyao, he really worried too much. 7 or 8 laboratory staff had all lost their spiritual power and become useless people, which shocked everyone in the laboratory. They hurriedly went to check on Tangua's situation, and found that her spiritual power was also very damaged. Therefore, they thought that the experiment this time must have been a mistake made by those researchers. They didn't suspect Tangua at all, and completely didn't know that Tangua was pretending to be damaged, but was actually digesting the spiritual power that she had swallowed before. She was actually a peace-loving person, and under normal circumstances, she wouldn't do such a crazy thing. But this was something that they had taken the initiative to deliver, so she wouldn't be polite. In the short term, the laboratory no longer planned to conduct any research on Tangua's spiritual power. Luan Xing's situation now was more serious than they thought. Even if they had some refrigerated things before, they would be used up very quickly. It was impossible to make a deal with 2 empires. The other party couldn't wait for them to be destroyed. There were only 3 ways to supply them with what they needed. Firstly, if there were enough benefits, there would definitely be people who would agree. Second, go to those small planets and seize resources. This wasn't easy, and they could only do one job. The weapons of 2 empires weren't to be trifled with. Third, he got it from Tang Qianshan. If he wanted to get it from Tang Qianshan, Tangua naturally became very important. They don't seem to want to experiment on me anymore. Xinyao could tell that Tangua's tone was a little disappointed. They came all the way here and only swallowed the spiritual energy of 7 or 8 people. They really disappointed me. Xinyao, there should be many other places that want to capture Guogua. When the time comes, Guogua will be able to swallow more. If Guogua really wants to eat them, why don't I catch them for you? System, dear host, you really didn't raise this loyal little dog for nothing. No, if it doesn't resist, it won't taste good. It's only interesting if it's very active and automatically delivered to my mouth. I like to see their panicked and helpless expressions as I swallow their spiritual energy in a daze. System, oh my god, little pervert. Chapter 27-25. What do you want? Actually, you won't be able to get anything from that little girl, Tangua. You should have heard that we did similar research on her before. Don't you know what we want? Tang Qianshan. The person negotiating with the bandits was Lu Xiaoyang. He maintained a smile on his face. You should know that we can't hand Tang Qianshan over to you. It's not just because of her abilities, but also her identity. We can't use the wife of a lieutenant general to exchange for her. If news of this spread out, it would be detrimental to the reputation of the empire. It would easily affect people's hearts. Lu Xiaoyang shook his head. Change your request. We can still consider it. You better not go overboard. We won't bring danger to the entire empire just because of a 7 or 8-year-old girl. The negotiator on the bandit side sneered. Don't forget that the girl is Tang Qianshan's daughter. If you don't save her, won't you be hurting Tang Qianshan's heart? After she knows the truth, will she still be willing to work for you? You can't even protect her daughter. She might hold a grudge and do something. It'll be too late for you to regret. Tell us your conditions. There's no need to sow discord. If your conditions really threaten the survival of the entire empire, I think madam he will understand and respect our decision. In order to apologize to her, we can only do our best to send He Zhongjiang to avenge her daughter. The people on the bandits' side immediately understood. The other party wouldn't agree to exchange Tang Qianqian. Actually, they didn't have much hope. They were just testing the waters. Alright, then we'll change our conditions. This time, the bandits requested a certain amount of fruits and vegetables, as well as plant seedlings. The amount was huge. They didn't need to give it all at once. They could give it slowly. We won't make things difficult for you. We know that you won't be able to give it all at once. That's why we want you to give it slowly. We'll take care of Miss Tang for now and talk to you regularly. If necessary, we'll also agree to meet Madam He. Lu Xiaoyang stopped smiling. That's too much. You can think about it and give me an accurate number. I think this request is reasonable. There's no need to think about it. Seventh young master, this is our bottom line. Lu Xiaoyang glanced at He Ting's expression and didn't see any reaction. He lowered his head and thought for a while before asking He Ting, Lieutenant General He, what do you think? Should we agree to their conditions? It's too much. He Ting expressed his thoughts without hesitation. That huge number was simply robbing. Lu Xiaoyang shrugged. If they really don't change their words, we have no choice but to agree. After all, she is Madam He and Lieutenant General He's daughter. He Ting clenched his fists. Tanggua had to be rescued. However, giving out such a huge number was actually very difficult for the entire empire. If he didn't, Tang Qianqian would definitely complain to the empire once she found out. Later on, they discussed it again, but the bandits did not relent at all. It was as if they were certain that they would win. Lu Xiaoyang, then give us 3 days to consider. 3 days later, Lu Xiaoyang agreed to their conditions. However, the hesitant empire wasn't doing well these days, so they couldn't take out that much for the first batch. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.